Hello everybody, MorbTron here. Today we are looking at the new exotic hand cannon Lumina and giving it a good old-fashioned review. Now I'm not going to be making a guide video on how to get it. I was planning on it, but honestly it's been beaten to death by so many other people online right now that I'm just going to link Dato's video in the description down below if you're looking for a guide on how to get it. Because honestly I think I missed the boat, and I had a much better time just using the weapon yesterday than grinding YouTube. But anyway, this thing is the most unique exotic in the game currently, and it makes me really excited to see what is to come in Destiny 2's future. But this thing is unique because once you get a kill, once you eliminate an enemy, it'll leave behind a remnant. Almost exactly like Thorn, but the reason why is kind of in the quest line. Read the lore, it's really good. But it's basically looks exactly like a Thorn remnant left behind, except instead of being the corrupted hive green energy, it is pure light, and it is kind of a white wispy orb that will fly at you, or you can run to it and pick it up. Once you pick up a remnant, it partially refills the magazine. I think it gives you 4 rounds per little remnant you pick up, and then once per remnant you pick up will give you a noble round. You can hold up to 5 noble rounds, or noble round charges. They're not separate ammo. It consumes the ammo in the magazine when you use a noble round. What a noble round is, if you hip fire, it'll shoot out a slow-moving orb of light that will track to a friendly as long as you are somewhat accurate with your hip fire. And if it hits a friendly, it will heal them for roughly 120 health, let's say, and will give you and your ally that you hit with it a damage buff. That damage buff is roughly 35% in PvE and roughly 19% in PvP. So it is really good. And as far as rating goes, I used this thing in a Crown of Sorrows last night after getting it, and it was pretty good. Not the best thing in the world, but the damage buff was extremely noticeable, and was able to keep some people alive that maybe got caught off guard by a knight or something. So very good. Now as far as this thing being a hand cannon, let's quick compare it to other exotic hand cannons in the game, and then we'll get into game footage of me using the weapon and kind of giving my opinion about the thing. So we compare it to the Rose, which is the legendary that you get throughout the quest line, and the stats are pretty close. Now the Rose does have a range masterwork after you do the quest line, so there is a little bit more range on the Rose right now because it's the third tier range masterwork, so a little bit more range. Has a little bit less handling, a little bit less reload, and 1 less in the magazine. But you'll see here the Rose has Outlaw, and it has Polymer Grip, but pretty much it has Chambered Compensator, just like Lumina, and Accurized Rounds, just like Lumina. Now comparing it to Thorn, which Rose is kind of the middle ground. Thorn is more on the darkness side of things, and Lumina is the polar opposite on the light side of things. So looking at Thorn, that being more of a damage hand cannon, you pick up a remnant, the Thorn does more damage, does a better, tick over time, does 7 instead of 2 in the Crucible. It has a smidgen more range, just a tiny bit, to the point where you're not going to notice it. A little bit more stability, a little bit more handling, lower reload, and less rounds in the magazine. But where it gets interesting is when you compare to things like the Last Word and the Ace of Spades. The Last Word has a little bit less range, about a full Masterworks less, a smidgen less impact, but the RPM of the Last Word, of course, is much higher. So that if you get into a gunfight in the Crucible with somebody using the Last Word, and you're using Lumina, if you are within the range of both of these hand cannons, you're going to lose the fight. And if you compare it to Ace of Spades has a ridiculous amount of range and does a ridiculous amount of damage, especially when it has Memento Mori. If you go up against an Ace of Spades, you're probably going to lose. This is not a hand cannon that you're going to slay out with in the Crucible. It is a support weapon. It is a support exotic, and you have to treat it as such. And this kind of brings me to my opinion piece on the Lumina itself. Now, as an exotic weapon, discounting the fact that it's a hand cannon, it is an exotic weapon that does the thing. It is fantastic. It is, like I said earlier, the most unique weapon currently in the game. Being able to shoot your friends to heal them and give yourself and them a damage buff is insane, and is going to kind of change the way that fire teams are built around for doing things like high score nightfalls or heroic menagerie or raids, especially newer raids in the future. I think Lumina might be a staple for like 1 or 2 people to be using, especially if things are fresh content and you might need that damage boost and a little bit of maybe panic healing, that sort of thing. Being able to have like a dedicated support person, you know, they might be on a Attunement of Grace Warlock, which, by the way, healing your friendlies with the noble rounds from Lumina does proc Benevolence with the Attunement of Grace Warlock, so it'll give you your grenade and other ability energy back faster by healing them with noble rounds. So there we go, we have our first dedicated support class in Destiny 2. So that's nice. In the Crucible, you really have to use this weapon as a support weapon as well. You're going to be team-shotting with it, and if you manage to secure a kill versus one of your blueberries or one of your friends getting a kill, picking up that remnant, having noble rounds, being able to basically heal them. You know, somebody starts a firefight, you shooting them with a noble round is going to really, really help them. You know, unless they're gonna get shotgunned or Lord of Wolves out of nowhere. You know, being able to heal a friendly up that's in the middle of a 1v1 with, you know, let's say, a hand cannon duel is going to be very, very nice. The added damage bonus, the 19% damage bonus, isn't going to be super powerful. You know, you're not going to be able to one-shot people with like a last word or anything like that. Now, interestingly enough, you can one-shot people with a headshot from Le Monarque. It'll do like 183, and then it'll tick them out for the rest of their health. And if you have a overcharged Sturm exotic hand cannon round, you'll do 195 to the head, which is a one-shot kill on any Guardian under 7 resilience. So being able to pair the Lumina up with somebody else using a really heavy-hitting weapon will allow you to one-shot them, or will allow them to one-shot other Guardians. But the Crucible right now, I think it needs to be set up where if you give somebody a buff with Lumina, or any other future support weapon in the game, if you give your friendly a buff, I think that if they get a kill, they eliminate an enemy, you need to be able to get an assist point for that. Right now, it's not set up that way. The only way you get an assist point is if you actually damage the enemy before they're eliminated. And this kind of segues me into the weapon overall. The Lumina as a hand cannon. Now, discounting its perks, its traits, its being a support weapon, just the Lumina as a hand cannon itself, I do not enjoy using. Now, in the raid, it was fine. I liked using it in the raid. It felt okay. You know, it felt like any other hand cannon I might have been using. A little bit less accurate than any of my other hand cannons that I have, you know, god rolls on, like my Austringer for PvE. But it got the job done, and the noble rounds really helped out. But in the Crucible, securing a kill like 1v1, now I solo queue most of the time in the Crucible, so I don't really have a fire team of people to coordinate with, follow around, that sort of thing to team shot in the game. I could follow around blueberries, but most of the time it's chaos. And 1v1ing with the Lumina, I felt like I was at a disadvantage 99% of the time. And one of the big reasons for that is that the Lumina itself, being an exotic hand cannon, doesn't have the ability to have you put a mod into it. Now, other exotic hand cannons like Thorn, Last Word, Ace of Spades, they have other benefits that give you other things to use, other tricks to pull out of your sleeve to pull one over on an enemy and get an elimination. But the Lumina does not have any self-buffing properties unless you hit an ally with a noble round. So it not having that mod slot kind of makes it feel like a blue hand cannon. You know, it has accurized rounds, It has chambered compensator, but other than that, it doesn't really have anything else going for it. It not having a mod slot doesn't allow you to put in Icarus grip, so it doesn't feel very good. Now, after I put on a helmet that had enhanced hand cannon targeting, it got a lot better. But still, it doesn't have those, dueling perks or the damage increasing perks that other exotics have. And honestly, even with a hand cannon targeting helmet, it just felt like a really good blue. But you get those noble rounds and you're able to heal your allies. It has its benefits there. But for me, I like doing the 1v1 hand cannon duels in the Crucible, which I know are rare, but just having a powerful hand cannon in my hand that I know I'm going to be able to win a 1v1 with is one thing. And Lumina, although it's shiny and new and a good support weapon, in the Crucible it is just not for me. So that's my opinion on it. I think that it would be better in the Crucible if you didn't have to go pick up a remnant to get your noble rounds. I think that maybe if you got a kill and you just had a noble round immediately, or no matter how far away the little remnant was, it would fly at you no matter what, that would be nice. Now with Thorn, I think that'd be a little bit overpowered. But with Lumina, it being more of a support weapon, I think that would be perfectly fine. Maybe, just have the remnant just fly to you no matter what, that sort of thing, so you didn't have to run to it. Securing a kill and taking out an enemy from a distance and having to run to pick up that remnant makes the hand cannon feel like a little bit more of a chore to use than anything, because I personally don't get much out of picking up a noble round and firing at an ally, even though they do. And then I get a damage buff in return, but that only allows the hand cannon to double headshot, body shot kill, rather than having to go for a triple headshot. So there we go. That's my opinion on it. It doesn't feel that great in the Crucible, but as an exotic and a support exotic in the first one we have at that, it's great. It's fantastic. I can't wait to see what Bungie does with more things like this in the future. But as far as a Crucible weapon goes, I'm going to be sticking to other hand cannons to use. But that is going to be it for this video, so if you liked it, you want to show your support, hit that like button. I would greatly appreciate it. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button. But do not forget, have a good day, everybody, and I will catch you all next time.